Snyderverse may be dead, but the Ayer cut may yet live, which was part of the Snyderverse, so, well, it's just little details, you know. But anyway, why even think that this was a possibility? Well, you can owe it all to that other verse, Twitterverse. Yeah. It appears David Ayer responded to a fan asking about what's with this bromance, David, about him being friendly with James Gunn. And is he going to release your cut, or do you still want it? We are hashtagging like crazy, but you gone silence. But anyway, should we stop, or... So David Ayer responds. He's always been a good guy. He's been incredibly respectful to me. As far as my cut, of course I want it seen, and I believe there's a real shot at it. It just won't be tomorrow. So, you know, he's saying, hey, I'm holding out hope and whatnot, you know. So, then, guess who responded? I'll second what David said about him. Which is about you, isn't it? Both inside and outside of Twitter. Yes, we communicate outside of Twitter. Believe it or not, our DNA does not begin with an at. Giggle, tee-hee. All right, just now getting around to this. This was in November. But there's some amount of interest here, is that he says, I'll second what David said. Of course, he's saying about that, hey, I'm a good guy, and I've been respectful to but he doesn't shoot anything down about the Ayer cut having a shot. And David Ayer says, yeah, I think there's a real shot at it. The interesting thing about the Ayer cut, and of course it gained some steam after the Snyder cut got released. And of course the deal with Ayer cut is that it was always more complete than Snyder's cut. And so it just like, well, why not just go ahead and do it? And for whatever reason, they decided not to and held off on that. But if Gunn should decide to go ahead and put that out on HBO Max, and you know, there it is for what it is, for the curiosity that it is, and there you go. But some of this has come up to light recently because the Seal Abdul chimed in on it and says, hey, they're on good terms, and perhaps there's discussions for Ayer to come in and direct some DCU films. And if that's the case, and that they would involve his Ayer cut, would there be some connectivity to it, in that his version of Suicide Squad would be the canon, you know, and not the theatrical release. But then this again comes into the, well, we're moving away from the Snyderverse and all that. Well, I mean, it's David Ayer's film, but it's born out of the world that began with Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. And in fact, Ayer's Suicide Squad takes place pretty much immediately after Batman versus Superman, because they mentioned the death of Superman and all this sort of stuff as the impetus for Amanda Waller to have more ground to create her Suicide Squad and all of that. Even though it's based on the idea, hey, what if Superman had gone rogue? We need a team ready to face that. Well, he's dead, so don't worry about it. Well, there might be something else. Yeah, well, all right. But anyway, as for his cut and what it was, there's more Joker stuff in it. He participates more in it, and he has some interaction with the Enchantress and all that sort of stuff. And so it probably is better than the one that came out, but I rather doubt that it would go much further than that. I don't know. The story of it I wasn't so crazy about, and with the way they handled it with the Enchantress being the main villain, it just makes everyone look so, especially Amanda Waller, look really stupid. You just really didn't have this completely locked down with such a dangerous force on your team. Plus, the idea that you needed a team that could take on Superman, you didn't have it. I mean, really, the Enchantress would be the only one who could. The rest of them just weren't that impressive. The El Diablo guy, he was, and then and her, and that's about it. Everybody else was no real match for Superman, or a threat equivalent to Superman's power. So yeah, it really fell flat. And I mean, it had an interesting opening where it introduced the characters and stuff like that, and then just quickly fizzled where they're just walking around talking about their feelings and you own that, and and then that was it. Maybe there's more detail and stuff in Ayer's total cut, and that'll pump it up a little, but it's too bad that it didn't go with its original concept, which would have had more connectivity between the overall Snyderverse or DCEU films, in that the Mother Box would have been involved to some extent, and Steppenwolf would have been in it, and would have been the real villain behind it all. And I think there was some pushback from Snyder saying he wanted Steppenwolf for his Justice League and all that, but they could have used one of the other New Gods to have this connection and all that. And it calls back to Wonder Woman. They deleted a scene where the Mother Box was mentioned, and you would have had more connectivity between them of this narrative setup leading up to this confrontation over the Mother Boxes with Steppenwolf. And for whatever reason, they just dropped all of that. And that's early on. That's before all the breakup with Snyder and stuff. So I don't know. It was kind of stupid. We want this shared universe. This connects it. No, don't do it. But anyway, so there's still a possibility that, yeah, they could release it. And if they do that, then I guess it would just be this interesting curiosity off to HBO Max. They just got it sitting there, and they could do it. They could have done the same thing with the Batgirl movie, but they decided it wasn't worth the trouble, and the tax write-off was more to their benefit than releasing the work. So anyway, I suppose it's possible, but that yeah, they could release it. But the more interesting thing is that apparently him and Gunn are talking about future projects that will probably not have anything to do with his cut, or maybe it will. It depends on what kind of reboot is this. Is there still some connectivity to what went before, albeit at a minimum? Perhaps that's the case too. We just don't know yet. But anyway, so yeah, no Snyderverse, but haircut. Yeah, you might get that.